It's about 8 o'clock on a Monday morning. On Wednesday we've got a booking through the Standage Channel. Tomorrow we've got a booking up the Marsden Flight, which isn't assisted passage. It is just, they'll open the locks.
That's when you're booked through, and we don't know when they open the locks. We don't know when we're able to go through the locks. We do have instructions for the Standage Tunnel, but they're not on the booking site at all, which they should be. And they're not emailed to you as part of the booking, which they should be.
And it says click here, you click there, you log in, and it just takes you to...
the thing telling you you're booked for that day.
No, it doesn't. It takes you to the thing that says you're going to need to prove that you've got a home mooring.
Oh, yeah. That's that nonsense.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So we think we're going to make it to Slaithwaite today. It's 21 locks.
I'm going to walk us... yeah, I'm going to walk George and I up, now that boat is leaving. I'm going to walk George up to the lock. There is a towpath all the way to... I think it's the third lock where you go under a tunnel,
yeah,
and then we have to ride through to the next one. Remember that? Because that's important.
Yeah.
Otherwise you'll be stuck.
Oh, no, it's the second lock. I think you have to...
something like that.
Yeah, you can't...
It is labelled.
Okay.
But just remember, crew has to get on that one or there is no way through.
Well, I can do it by myself, but it's probably better if I don't. And when we get to the fourth lock, I might get you to run up to Lidl to get me some breakfast.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think there's a Lidl there.
We should put those batteries in my pocket so I can recycle them too.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
All right, well, I better get this boat.
You get the boat moving, I'll get the batteries in my pocket.
We're still on the Huddersfield Broad Canal here as we pass through the town's main stretch of visitor moorings. Around the bend we pass the Aspley Basin, historically an industrial wharf but now home to many boats, and there's a really friendly and helpful chandlery here too. Under the low brick bridge to the left is a short stream that feeds the canal from the River Colne. Most of the buildings lining the canal here are part of the University of Huddersfield. Just ahead is the junction with the Huddersfield Narrow Canal and the First Lock. It actually used to be called First Lock, but at some point it got named after someone called Stanley Dawson. So it's actually the next day. It's about 28 hours later. We got to Lock 1E yesterday and found the stop planks in it, and we didn't realise, because last time we came through, although it was 3 years ago, you had to book in advance by half an hour and they just turn up and let you through. And when I checked the notices, I missed the notice that said you had to book 1E, and when you book Standage Tunnel it says make sure you book Marsden Flight, but when you book Marsden Flight it doesn't say make sure you book 1E. So yeah, we got stuck. They only open it twice a week, on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Luckily yesterday was Monday, today's Tuesday. I asked if they could come as early as possible and she said yes. That boat's come down because they were told 8:30 till 9. It's about 10:30 now, still no sign of them. We want to go all the way to Slaithwaite today, so, which is why we wanted an early start. We've had to move our Standage Tunnel booking and our Marsden Flight booking. We've actually got the last Standage Tunnel booking of the year, so if anything goes wrong we're buggered. But hopefully somebody turns up soon and takes those stop planks out. Unfortunately, the guy that came down this morning said that he almost grounded out yesterday coming down. I think it was above Lock 5 or below Lock 5, I can't remember what he said, but I'll check before we go. So it might be an interesting journey, but we'll find out if someone turns up. I don't fully understand why stop planks are needed rather than just using the lock gates. I'm guessing the gates must be very leaky. Apparently this pound regularly empties overnight, and we know this has been an issue for at least 3 years since we were last here. During that time, the only solution that's been found is to actually close the navigation and block it with the stop planks. The planks are only removed twice a week, just long enough to let the waiting boats through, and then the navigation's blocked again. I contacted the CRT this week to find out if any progress had been made with this problem. They told me that some work was done at Loch Wanney during last year's winter stoppage programme, but because this canal has pretty much been closed all year, they don't know if the solution's been successful. That woman that's just walked past me is the Canal and River Trust Area Operations Manager for Yorkshire and the North East. She did say good morning to me as she passed, but I didn't get to have a conversation with her before her team sent her back to her car as she's forgotten to wear her life jacket today, and apparently CRT rules state that she's not allowed on site without one. So Michael's still at the post office, and we got fed up of waiting, so he went to put our post through, and yeah. I'm being locked through the BRT guys, so hopefully Michael will be back by the time we're up and we can get on our way. I feel a bit sorry for Jo from the past here, as she hasn't yet found out the bad news. The CRT manager told her team that she's shutting the canal ahead due to a dry pound further up the canal, and we're not allowed to proceed beyond the pound above Lock 3. Michael arrives back just as I'm bringing Perseverance out of the lock. He's pretty devastated by the news too. It means that we're going to be delayed again and we'll miss our new booking through Marsden and the last opportunity we have to pass through the Standage Tunnel this year. We have no choice but to moor up and wait for the area manager to return. When she does, she shows us a photo of an empty pound that she said was sent to her at 7 AM. Bear in mind that it's now 11:45 AM and there's no stoppage notice in place. She confirms to us that she has closed the canal, and she tells us that it will be for a minimum of 24 hours and we must stay below Lock 4. We question why it will take so long to fill a pound that's only half a mile long, but we get a lot of pushback on our question. We've got lots of experience filling empty pounds on our past travels, but we've never been delayed by 24 hours before. When we ask how we'll know when the canal's open again, we're hoping that she'll offer to call us, but instead she tells us she'll update the notice. Yep, the same notice that hasn't even gone up yet. We've got no choice. We decide to continue through the next 2 locks and then we'll moor up just below Lock 4. Hopefully it'll feel like a tiny bit of progress. We've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Huddersfield Narrow Canal, and we desperately want to love it, but it seems like it's been a bit of a troublemaker from the beginning. The route was first proposed in 1794 to link the Ashton Canal with Huddersfield and the Broad Canal to create a route across the Pennines. The Huddersfield Narrow Canal is only 20 miles long, but it has a whopping 74 locks along its length, as well as a 3-mile tunnel between Marsden and Diggle. The canal was supposed to take just 5 years to build, but it actually took over 3 times that, and it came in at twice the anticipated budget. It took 30 years to return any investment, but it did have a few prosperous years until there was competition from the railway. It eventually closed in 1944. In 1974, the Huddersfield Canal Society was formed, and they managed to get the canal fully back in water, with the first boats using the route again in May 2001. During the years that the canal was closed, 2 factory buildings were built over its route in Huddersfield, and so tunnels had to be constructed under the buildings during the restoration. It also meant that locks 2E and 3E had to be relocated. This is the point at which you need to make sure all your crew are on board your boat. The next lock can only be accessed from a boat. The canal narrows ahead and we're actually entering the original lock chamber of the second lock. Only now you leave the lock at the same level as you enter it. I really love how it's been preserved and made into a part of the new navigation. A deep cut had to be made from the site of the original lock to the new lock. Steel sheet piles have been used to form the sides of the channel, and overhead support struts brace the walls. This is quite a unique bit of navigation. I haven't seen anything else like this on the system. We pass under the Queen Street Bridge and then into the newly constructed tunnel below one of the factory buildings. The floor of the factory actually had to be dug up whilst the tunnel was being built. On the far side of the tunnel is the lock landing and some stairs up to the lock side. The smooth concrete walls of the lock are the biggest clue that it's been built fairly recently. All of the other locks on this navigation have brick or stone walls. This is the isolated section of the canal which cannot be accessed by foot. I mean, I'm sure there's probably access for the CRT, but usually if you don't arrive by boat, you can't get to the lock. Originally there was a horse tunnel under Chapel Hill Bridge, but it's been blocked up. The bridge leads into the original lock chamber of Lock 3E, which is now being used as the location for the lock landing. I drop Michael off and then I continue through another new tunnel which goes under a road. If I understand correctly, this is where the new line of the canal deviates slightly from the original route. So Sellers Lock actually only moved here in 2011. When the canal first reopened in 2001, a tunnel was built here that continued for about 400 metres under the Sellers engineering complex to the site of the new lock. This lock is located outside Kirklees College, so you often get an audience here as you pass through. It's a really convenient place to pause and pop up to the Lidl, but this time we've decided it's probably a better use of our time to send Michael ahead along the canal by foot to see how bad the empty pound actually is. He'll also try and gauge how long it will take to fill it, because in our experience, a half-mile pound does not take anywhere near 24 hours to recover. I move Perseverance out of the lock and I wait on the lock landing. Then I get the call from Michael. He's walked all the way to just beyond Lock 6 and he's reported back that the pound is full of water. I mean, it's down a few inches, but there's more than enough water for Perseverance. This is obviously great news and we're so thankful to be moving, but it's so frustrating that we've wasted so much time today completely unnecessarily. If Michael hadn't walked ahead, we'd never have known we could actually proceed, and we'd be sat waiting in vain for a stoppage notice that was never going to be updated because it was never put up in the first place. So, as I said, until 2011, this whole stretch was actually below ground with a factory above it. When the factory relocated, the tunnel roof was removed and the canal was opened up. The lock location moved again and this Huddersfield waterfront was created. As we reach the end of the former tunnel, this ladder marks the location of the previous Lock 3E, the one that was built for the canal reopening in 2001 before it got moved to its current location in 2011. I hope all that made sense. The A62 Manchester Road crosses the canal just below Longroyd Lock, and this is where I've arranged to meet back up with Michael. So we've just gone through Lock 4 and we've had quite the morning. We'll tell you about it at the end of the cruise, but it's not been good. But we're smiling now. Hopefully we'll keep smiling. It looks like numerous attempts have been made to close this tow path, but both the wooden gate and the metal gates appear to have been vandalised and failed, and now they're just eyesores. It's quite strange to see a boat moored on the offside of the canal with no towpath access. Ahead you can see the Springwood Railway viaduct which carries the Huddersfield line across the canal. We'll be passing under that flat span just before the next lock. And it's so overgrown and shallow that you need to be in the middle, but you can't be in the middle because of trees. It's quite a depressing sight at Paddockfoot Lock, as it's looking really scruffy. There's a lot of rubbish that's been dumped here and it's really overgrown. I mean, I guess the time of year doesn't help, but it's really sad to see it like this. We've now reached the dry and impassable pound, and as you can see, it is full of water. The last pound I drove through was pretty silted up, so I decided to let Michael drive this one. I'm not sure what all these gates are here for, but they're clearly causing more problems than they're solving. This is Mark Bottom Bridge. When the canal was closed, an embankment was built across the canal here so that the traffic could access the buildings between the canal and the river. It had to be dug out during the restoration, and it was replaced with this new bridge. During the removal of all the earth, part of the original stone bridge was uncovered. Unfortunately, it couldn't be restored as it was too narrow to carry all the heavy traffic that needs to cross the canal today. The River Colne Valley was once lined with textile mill buildings and chimneys. Most of the old chimneys have gone, but a lot of the mill buildings remain. The east side of the Huddersfield Narrow Canal follows the route of the River Colne quite closely. All of the locks have been fairly deep so far. There's 42 locks between Huddersfield and the summit, and they'll raise Perseverance up 438 feet in total. We're approaching the Millsbridge area of Huddersfield now, and our surroundings are starting to look a little more picturesque. After such a bad start to the trip, we're really trying to remember why we love this navigation again. The fact that it's not raining today definitely helps. The next pound is fairly short, which is good as it's very low in water. Even with water this low, it's still possible to navigate as most narrowboats have very shallow drafts. You just need to make sure you stick to the deepest part of the channel in the centre of the canal. Of course, this only works if you've got crew on land because it's not possible to get to the lock landings and drop off and pick up. We're safely under Armitage Bridge and into lock E8. I've seen this lock called roller lock or spring mill lock or factory lock, so take your pick. I think most of the surviving mills here have been converted into apartments. Michael sets off ahead with George to get the next lock ready for us. Once the water has raised in this lock, I'll bring Perseverance out and shut the gate behind me. Some new housing's been built on the offside of the canal here on the site of an old tannery and along Tannery Road. In the next lock I think about climbing up the ladder to shut the gate behind me, but I decide to be patient and just wait for Michael to do it instead. I've seen this lock called both Isis Lock and Tannery Lock. This pound's really low, so I don't think it's a good idea for me to stop the boat and shut the gate behind me this time. Instead, Michael will run back down to shut it once I'm safely in Spring Garden Lock. I'm sure this lock got its name from a local garden and not because there's a literal garden growing out of the bricks in the chamber. This is lock 11E and I've seen it called both Library Lock and Millsbridge Top Lock. I don't know what's wrong with this bridge, but I don't think that orange netting is doing anything to stop people from crossing it. Let's hope it's not too critically dangerous to do so. At Roughholme Lock, Michael walks ahead again with George. Whilst going uphill through narrow locks, we find this to be the most efficient way to work the locks, especially if they're fairly close together like these ones. Goldcut Aqueduct takes the canal over the River Colne. There had previously been a swing bridge here, but it was replaced with this brick bridge as part of the canal restorations. There's more old mill buildings lining the canal in Goldcut. These ones look about ready for redevelopment. So far we've travelled 3 miles from Huddersfield and we've climbed through 11 locks. The next lock is Ramsden Low Lock and then it's Ramsden High Lock. Presumably they're named after the family who historically owned much of Huddersfield when the canal was built. Next to the High Lock is Ramsden Mill. I'm guessing there's a lot of things in Huddersfield with the name Ramsden. This lock also seems to be supporting its own ecosystem. Many of the pounds along this canal have been pretty silted up so far, and it's fairly common to be scraping along the bottom as you travel, even when the water level is normal. Whenever George is naughty, we threaten to leave him under a bench. From the look on his face here, he might think we're serious. This canal's really hard work, but the views are so rewarding, especially on a gloriously sunny autumn afternoon like this one. This is one of my favourite views from the Huddersfield Narrow Canal. It takes my breath away every time. The landscape really opens up and the huge Titanic mill stands statuesque in the distance. Just outside Slaithwaite, we enter the original chamber of Lock 21E, and then the canal stays this width all the way to the next lock. I pause in the channel so Michael can catch up, and it seems George has decided that he's done enough walking for one day and he wants to get back on the boat. Poor thing has had a really long day, and he doesn't realise that we're stopping above the next lock for the night. I did wonder whether I should include the next section of the vlog. It was filmed just after we finished travelling and we're both quite exhausted and upset about the day. It does give an accurate picture of how we were feeling at the time though. We were so frustrated, but in hindsight, looking back, we were so lucky to actually get to make this trip. This canal's now been closed since March due to the water levels, and before that it was closed to winter repairs, so I'm not sure if any boats have actually been able to make this journey this year at all.
Today's been a frustrating day.
Yes, the start of the video is us leaving yesterday because we didn't know, which is our fault. Like,
It's not really our fault. I mean, it is our fault because
to
honestly, we should have remembered that last time they had botched this so bad that we really should have been prepared for how bad it was going to be botched now.
you needed to book, last time we came through 3 or 4 years ago, we needed to book through the Huddersfield first lock, and you needed to phone up the man that was going to open it up and give him half an hour notice, and you had his number and he was lovely and he let us through.
And I believe at the time it was flagged as a restriction. Over the years, the map and the system on Canal and River Trust's website, the website keeps getting fancier. And each time it gets fancier, most of it breaks. If you go to the search functionality and search for anything whatsoever, you will pick up stuff that reached the search index years ago and has all been broken since they updated everything.
Look, this page is no longer exists.
Yeah, 404 not found. The functionality has become less useful over time. Where it has become particularly annoying is that map, which is so full of meaningless information off the bat that you have to filter out stuff. Usually, canals and locks, if you've got something that you cannot move through for some reason, for some amount of time, that should be flagged as either a restriction or an actual closure, right?
Like if you were going to put stop planks across the canal.
Yeah, if you're going to put stop planks across a lock, it's a closure. It also could be considered a restriction in that you are restricted to, say, 2 days a week or 1 day a week or something. But if you've got any form of situation in which it is only openable for navigation, when it is legally a navigation, if it is constrained outside of the 7 days a week, and it isn't a standalone piece of heritage, it's a canal and a lock on a canal, then it's a bloody stoppage.
That was the first annoyance. We thought we would be where we're sitting now 24 hours ago. We had some luck. Well, we were stuck in Huddersfield for a whole
extra day,
wasting our time. The only bit of luck was that one of the 2 days a week that you can book through lock 1 was today, and they booked us through. The supervisor called back and she at least listened and she tried, but one of the things she said she'd do is call the people who open up lock 1E today and see if they could come through any earlier than the 9:30 that she told me they were coming through. So this morning Michael gets up and goes and does our post and has a coffee, and a boat arrives that's coming down. We're going up. He was told to get there between 8:30 and 9. I'm like, oh good, that must mean they're coming at 9. No, they came at 11.
Yeah.
And let's just say these people did not love their life. They were not the happiest of people. Anyway, then their boss turned up, but she'd forgotten her life jacket. So she delivered the news to them, not to us, that the canal above lock 5 and 6 was closed because it was dry.
Completely dry, no water in it.
So then she disappeared and left them to tell us that the lock was dry, the pan was dry.
So they'd repeated this. They'd repeated what they'd received as hearsay.
Yeah.
Right?
So
she'd told them, this is what we've got to report, that this is dry.
So then,
and apparently there's a photograph of a dry canal.
Which I did see a photograph of a dry canal, which is the only thing that convinced me. But anyway, we then had to wait for half an hour for her to go back to her car, get her life jacket, because
we were told that it would take 24 hours for them to fill the lock, that we were going to have to sit at lock 3 for 24 hours.
And we were not allowed to go above lock 3. She was closing the canal. She was putting a notice up, and I was like, oh, the notices aren't always accurate. How will we know that we can go up? My notices are always accurate. I always do mine.
Okay, this is another one. Even if you do it yourself, it doesn't immediately go up. There's this thing called TTL, or time to live. And if time to live is set wrong on your website, which, guys, it's usually wrong, You won't actually update through the cache, even if somebody refreshes
Explain.
for up to whatever the TTL is, which might be set to 15,306 million seconds. Like, who knows?
I explained our situation and why we had to get to Manchester and how we'd already been delayed for a day.
That just powered off.
That's fine.
Okay.
And her response to that was, we'll get a train. You're on a canal. You can't travel fast on a canal. And I was like, in what way is that helpful? Like,
And also, we're not talking fast.
yeah, we're not talking fast.
We're talking well under 4 miles an hour the entire time. Noting that we've been through these locks probably, I don't know.
This is the fourth train.
I don't know her experience level. I don't know the experience level of anybody in this system, but the odds are we've got more time on more locks. And I love getting told, it's a really long pound. It's going to take 24 hours to fill. And I'm like, I have personally filled a 2 mile pound in under 24 hours.
Yeah. So we get above lock 3.
We get a level. We've got you above lock 3.
Yeah.
You're ready to moor up at the end of lock 3. We've been told to into the moor
Not allowed to go any further.
Now lock 3 is a long pound, like not hugely long,
No.
but there's a place at the beginning and then there's a place at the end where you can moor up. And then there's the next lock. So I find myself at the next lock and I'm like, okay, well the next pound will be empty, right? Because we've been told that it's been empty. Then I get above that lock. No, it isn't empty. It is really not empty.
It's like 3 or 4 inches
It's a
down.
little low. Like, it's low. You wouldn't want to travel down, like, if you were, for some reason, driving with yourself immediately shoved up against the towpath, you'd have some serious problems.
Yeah.
But if you're in the middle, there's enough room for a much deeper boat than us.
Oh, we're full. So, and we'd already heard that this pound was low because the boat that came down yesterday and was moored above Loch Quinny told us that he struggled. So he reported it. He told me he'd reported it to the Canal and River Trust. So it's empty today. It got reported yesterday. So we were also like, you've had 24 hours notice. Like, loan boats were booked to go up. So that was frustrating.
But then to find that the lock was in fact, like the pound was in fact not empty. Also, I ran it twice, plus the bit up to the next end. Like I did quite a bit of running today along a towpath that has these gates that usually close it because the towpath is unsafe. And it's like, well, the reason the towpath's unsafe is that fundamentally nobody's been maintaining the towpath.
Yeah,
nobody's been maintaining the locks on this stretch.
The other thing was when the guy this morning that was taking the planks out told me that we couldn't go above lock 3, and I said, but he reported it yesterday being low. Like the other boater, the CRT guy said he probably left the paddle open, and I was like, you can't blame the freaking boaters.
Don't blame the boater.
That's reported the issue.
And also, we were sitting at the bottom, just underneath the lock the entire night. No extra water came past us. I'm really kind of surprised that this long pound is dry.
Yeah.
It's not that long of a pound, but there is a volume of water. Now I got to go up to that pound, and if that pound had been dry, I'd have noticed that volume of water coming past us in the middle of the night. Right? At any rate of speed that would actually drain that thing. So nobody left any sluices open. There definitely wasn't any sluices left open by a boater. I mean, there's this whole thing of its volume and flow rate. So there are problems if you don't have water. Like if your reservoir is empty. Now, there's been quite a bit of rain. I doubt the reservoirs are empty. But if the reservoirs are empty, if the reservoirs are empty because you've run all the water down the bywashes, then you've got a problem. If the reservoirs are empty, you've got a problem. But if the reservoir up there isn't empty, and I noticed on several locks today water going down the bywashes, so I don't think the reservoir is empty. But if the reservoir isn't empty, then the problem of filling any given pound is that pound has a surface area, that pound has a depth. You take the surface area, multiply it by the depth, take some sort of average measurement because it's, it is in fact not square. So you could kind of go with like 1 foot at the full size and then 1 foot at the smaller size, or you could just go with some sort of, fudge factor. But anyway, you get a volume. Now all you need to know is the flow rate, right? And it's like as soon as you've got a flow rate and a volume, you can figure out how much water to move from this lock into that lock, into this lock, into that lock, into this lock. There could be an app for this.
I understand that people make mistakes and things go wrong, but how can you say that you're closing a canal because a pound is dry when it's
full of water?
Yeah. And beside that, usually the people that we eat from the CRT, like 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, the people that we meet at the locks helping us out are so friendly, so helpful. But today I felt...
That 1 out of 100 really makes a lot of deficit
Today
happen.
I felt that boaters inconvenienced the canal people, like the CRT people. That's what it felt like to me today. Like
That we inconvenienced them?
We were an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Them having to help us through.
Was a problem and a pain. And it's
And
like,
really,
you have I understand that the CRT has a problem in that it needs to manage very complicated resources that are old technology and lots of stuff can go wrong. I understand that the Huddersfield Narrow Canal is badly designed, you know, from the Victorian time. Like, it was not well designed for water retention. I understand that there are, you know, going to be deficits in terms of like people with the right technical skills and people with the right sort of willingness to volunteer and do it for free, you know, or the people that you're paying being people who are necessarily very
these bugs are getting really bad.
experienced at dealing with water resources, especially. Like, it's a complicated problem. I get that it's a complicated problem. I have a lot of appreciation for how complicated that problem is. And I also understand that there is limited resources, especially to do web design. But somehow, canal time means putting in a huge buffer. We put in a huge buffer, but that doesn't mean that there isn't significant life events up ahead, significant things that people have to get to.
And that doesn't mean that we want to get delayed by incompetence. We can get delayed by failures.
Acts of God are okay. Acts of idiot are not. Like, I try to be nice about it. I mean, I really do want to be nice about it because I do understand the problem. I come up to the boat. We're moving through the lock, and Joe has to report to me that we're not able to move up. That our booking that's already been screwed up by multiple days is now being screwed up by multiple more. Also, we're now on the last day's booking through the Standage Tunnel, so I'm not even sure we're going to make it through this thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter. My point is, I'm trying to be nice about all this stuff. I'm trying to be nice about, you know, I understand that there are problems managing this system. But all of a sudden, I'm told that there is a notice going up that we're not able to move. Joe's saying we're not able to move because we're going to need 24 hours because a lock has to be filled. There's a notice, a pound has to be filled. There's a stoppage notice that's going to go out. Oh my gosh, a stoppage notice is going to happen because there's a lock that's dry, or sorry, there's a pound that's dry. And that pound is a good half-mile long and it is full of water. This is not an example of a competent management of a resource when that resource is like observable from, by the way, space.
Like I said to her, you know, we both know that the have I said this? We both know that the notices aren't always accurate and up to date, and she says, well, mine are. And then 2 minutes before that, we'd been talking about how there's only one more, like the day we go through Standage Channel is the last day. There's no more bookable dates. And she's like, oh yeah, no, there are. They just got taken down from, you know, from the website for some reason, but we'll put them back up. You've just admitted to me that the website is not accurate, yet you expect me to take your word for it that the notices are accurate. It's like, and I guarantee there are notices up now that are wrong, and there are there are closures that are not up. Like,
we literally traveled through an area that's in a red stoppage notice just the other day.
Well, it wasn't red, but the notice was red.
Yeah, the notice was red. The
boards were not red.
The boards were fine. We were able to travel through it. We were able to safely navigate through a according to the website stoppage. Like, you know, the facts on the ground are not necessarily in sync with the facts on a website that is like 50% 404 not found.
I think it's such a shame because this is a beautiful canal. Like, I was trying to enjoy the views
Lots of
today.
bugs.
Yeah, there are lots of bugs. And more people need to come here. But it's almost like if we're incompetent and we put people off coming, we can just close this canal and not have another one to worry about.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
And this is one of the ones that feels, and always has felt, threatened. And
It's just
I
getting
get that
worse.
there are technical issues, but map it out, get the sizes, get the volumes, figure out the flow rates, and then get some sensors in here to say when something's low and when something's high,
Don't tell people that they have to stop because there's no water when.
when there is in fact water.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we're tired and grumpy.
So grumpy. On the good side,
What's that?
George met a lot of dogs today.
Yeah,
And I failed to meet those dogs.
Yeah, I
They
did.
were all like a little bit too far
I
away.
did notice that.
There was one American bulldog that I really want. Well, not American. American pit bull terrier. And it came
Oh,
walking
its
up.
face.
Oh, so cute.
Its face.
But it did not like me at all.
Oh.
Because it saw my hat and it was just like, no, I will bark, 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 bark. But I really wanted to say hello.
And Michael did pretty much all the locking. I think I did 2 or 3 locks. And I did pretty much all the driving through shallow pounds. And I got grounded out a few times and the sun was in my eyes.
Yep. I did a bunch of running today in waterproof socks. So my feet are,
Nice.
no, they are in pain.
Good news is we got a tank full of hot water.
And if you want to come up the Huddersfield Narrow, book well ahead.
Yeah.
And
allow an extra. Oh yeah, the man. And that's
check the locks ahead of
another
time.
thing. The man that was coming down that I met today, you didn't really talk to him. He got delayed 9 days here. I didn't fully understand why, but they made him wait here for 9 days. He's got to be in Leeds.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
We were in Leeds less days ago than it's taken him to get from here to the bottom of the flight.
It was quicker for us to get from Leeds to Huddersfield than it was from Huddersfield to here.
If you're thinking about going up the Huddersfield, consider the Rochdale.
Hey, do you remember, like in the last video, when we were going Huddersfield, Rochdale, Huddersfield, Rochdale? We made the wrong choice.
We made the wrong choice. We should have gone up the Rochdale. Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah. It's also, sorry,
I'm not-
there's a lot of foliage grown in too, but
Oh, yeah.
it is really pretty.
Yeah.
Although I do really wish there were less of these hanging.
Can I stop now?
Yes, you can stop.